We live in an amazing area. There's a lot to see and a lot to do. But the best part about our area are the people. And those are the people we are called to serve. And Jerry's going to be talking about that right now.
All right, so this is Vision Month, our last Sunday of it. At the end of the service, I'll let you know where we're headed next week in our teaching. So every year we take the month of January, we take a look back, God's blessings on us, and look ahead at God's challenges and opportunities that He has for us. And we're going to be focusing today on the strategic partners that we have to help us minister in our area. And to do this, first of all, I want to introduce Stephanie Ford. Stephanie is the president and CEO of the Southeast Volusia Chamber of Commerce. And she's got this big, long speech. So I'll just smile at her and we'll get this in, okay? So.
I'm going to put this up here.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm not sure if that's on. So the Southeast Volusia Chamber, our mission is to cultivate business through advocacy, education, and collaboration to provide a thriving business community and quality of life for residents and guests here at New Smyrna Beach, Edgewater, and Oak Hill. We give out business awards annually that are nominated by the community, and one of them is the Community Supporter Award. This award is for a nonprofit that has met their organizational goals for 2025, effective fundraising and resource management, creative solutions to community needs, strong volunteer support, and has a long commitment to community efforts. The nominees for the award last year were Council on Aging of Volusia County, Southeast Volusia YMCA, and Atlantic Coast Church. And so I'm very honored to present this award to Atlantic Coast Church and Jerry Fencher. This was given out at our annual meeting in November. And the reasons why the church has received this award is because they are deeply committed to serving the Southeast Volusia community, guided by the principle of seeking the welfare of the city. Their outreach includes partnerships with Halifax Urban Ministries and Gifts of Love, donating more than a ton of food this year and supporting the community meal program by preparing and serving 150 meals monthly. They provide volunteers and funding to the Miracle League, feed 250 students twice a month through FCA at the New Smyrna Beach High School, and offer financial support to the Jesus Clinic, Salty Family Services, and Volusia Thanksgiving Basket Brigade. This year, they also partnered with Undo Medical Debt to eliminate $1.7 million in medical bills for Volusia County residents. With nearly $100,000 in combined contributions of time, service, and financial support, they continue to strengthen and uplift the Southeast Volusia community. I'm sure there are some things that we left out, and I also want to mention that this award is given out in front of the business community, our city staff, elected officials, community leaders. So I'm very honored to present this award here to the church today.
Okay, give yourselves a hand. Thanks, Steph. So I told you guys you need to be here today to see this. So I just think that's pretty cool. When I look back over my years here at Atlantic Coast, this is what I'm most proud of, is that you guys just open up your hearts to people. And Stephanie needs to leave, so if you need to go, all right. So.
I love you, Jerry, but I already listened to this one.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to introduce you to another one of our guests in just a moment, but like I said, today we're focusing on our local community. This was a local award, and it was pretty cool. There's like 400 or 500 people there, and it's all the big dogs in town, you know, and all of this kind of thing, and I'm sitting there not paying much attention, and I knew we had been nominated, but I mean, when you're up against some of the organizations we're up against, I said, it's nice, you know, to be recognized, and they called us off, and Thankfully, I didn't have to give a speech because I was not ready, and I'd have probably cried the whole time, But anyway, I just think this is great. This is not me. This is you guys, okay? This is us together. And so we're excited about all of this. One of my favorite groups of musicians that I've liked for a long time is a group called U2, very famous. Their lead singer, Bono, said this one time. He said, God is in the slums. He's in the cardboard houses where the poor play house. God is in the silence of a mother who has infected her child with a virus that will soon take both of their lives. God is in the cries heard under the rubble of war. God is in the debris of wasted opportunity and lives. And God is with us if we are with them. One day, an expert in the law came to question Jesus, and he asked him, what is the most important commandment? At this time, there was the 10 Commandments originally, and up to this point in Jewish history, there's like 613 commandments. And this expert in the law asked Jesus this to trick him, to get him to say, well, one was more important than the other, and then they could come back and say, well, what about this? And what about this? And most of you know the answer that Jesus gave. We talk about it quite a bit around here. Jesus said, here's the most important commandment. He said, love the Lord your God with all of your heart and all of your soul and all of your strength and with all of your mind. And he continued and said, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Jesus said that loving your neighbor is tied directly to loving God. And the question comes back, how can we as human beings love this, invisible God that we serve? Well, the way you do it is to love the people that he loved. If you want to get on my good side, be nice to my kids. Okay? Brag on my kids, and I'll be like your best friend. And so we see this same thought here. We love God by loving the people that he loves. By the way, when Jesus said that, he was quoting from what Moses wrote back in the Old Testament, the book of Leviticus. And Moses said that the nation of Israel were to love their neighbor as they loved themselves. Well, this expert in the law, after Jesus said that, he wanted to kind of qualify it, and I think perhaps he wanted to say, well, what's the least I can do? How do I do that? What's the least I can do? And so he just asked this question, said, who is my neighbor? Jesus responded by telling them the story of what we know of today as the story of the Good Samaritan. That there was a guy who was on a walking path, and he was overtaken by some thieves, and he was beaten. He was left for dead on the side of the road. And Jesus said that two different religious people walked by and saw him and kept going, but a Samaritan man saw him. And Jesus said he had compassion on him and took care of him. And he made sure that his needs were met, and even took care of some long-term needs financially. And this was quite a shock to this Jewish audience that Jesus was telling this story to, because the Samaritans were not quite enemies, but they were very looked down on by the Jewish people. There was a different faith that was involved. There was a different race that was involved. The Samaritans were considered by the Jews to be less than us. The Jews did everything they could to stay away from Samaritans. In fact, if you were to have a map, and we've had maps in here before, but you kind of know where Israel is. And the bottom part of Israel was Judea, and the upper part of Israel was Galilee. And kind of right in the middle of the two was where the Samaritans lived. And the Jews hated the Samaritans so much that if they were going to go from Galilee to Judea or Judea to Galilee, instead of just kind of, cutting through, they would add extra miles and extra work to their travel and go all the way around just to avoid the Samaritans. And I think the point that Jesus was making, that your neighbor, when you say love your neighbor, he's not necessarily talking just about people who are like you, just about people who, but he's also talking to people who are not like you. And we've defined it that our neighbor is anyone who our paths come across. Anyone who comes across our path. So to love your neighbor as you love yourself, you have several issues here. One is one of self-love, that's the measure. It implies a healthy regard for yourself, meaning that you care for others as you would for yourself. If you're hungry and you would take care of that need by getting food, then we ought to look for that need for other people. If you needed clothes, if you needed housing, if you needed this or that, and you would do that for yourself, that you should do it for others. So you love your neighbor as you love yourself. Another thing about loving your neighbor is it's not just something that you say. It's not just a feeling. In fact, I believe it's a call to action. It's a call to do something tangible. The book of James says that if you see someone who's cold and shivering, you don't just walk up to them and say, hey, be warm, and go on your way. That if you see someone who's hungry or thirsty, that you don't just look at them and say, be filled, and go on your way, that you do what you can. You take care of one of their tangible needs. Loving your neighbor means meeting needs and showing concern and being generous and not being easily offended. I wrote down some other things here as we help the needy, providing food and shelter and necessary items, offer services that are needed, showing simple kindness, treating people like people, to be understanding. Boy, we need more and more of this today. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Nobody is the way they are on purpose. Their life has come to them and caused them, a lot of people, to get in the situations that they're in. So we give people the benefit of the doubt, realizing none of us are perfect. Loving your neighbors, you love yourself, means we should pray for others and find out their needs and look for opportunities to show love. And then I said we need to expand our view of what a neighbor is. It's not just us. It's the people that are out there, okay? Through compassionate, practical actions. Someone once said that it's hard to tell a hungry man that Jesus loves them. Hard to tell a hungry man that Jesus loves him, all right? You make sure his physical needs are taken care of first. And you help him understand that the reason why you're doing that is because of what Jesus has done for you. Jesus said it this way. He said, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works, the good things that you do, and glorify your Father who is in heaven. So in the Old Testament, we find a verse that we use as kind of a theme verse around here. And the Jewish people had been carried off into captivity. In the book of Jeremiah, which is one of the prophets who would write and remind them of the things that God wanted them to do, said that God told him this through Jeremiah. He said, to seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you. And pray to the Lord for it. Because if it prospers, you too will prosper. So when we take care of the city that God has provided us with, the place He has given us to live and serve, when we make sure it prospers, we prosper as well. The promise is there. So seek the welfare of this city. Just kind of hang on to that. That's what we want to do as a church. When you leave today, on the back table, on the inside there where we drop the offering off, there's a white sheet of paper. It has a list of our foreign missionaries that we support, and we'll talk about them another day, but it has a list of the local ministry partners that we have. We can't do all that we believe needs to be done. So I think a wise church will look for strategic partners to come alongside, where we don't have to have our name on it. It's just part of our ministry. It's part of what we do. And you'll see some of those we're involved. We'll talk about Salty Family Services in just a moment, but community meal program where we join with other churches and civic organizations. And once a month at the Methodist Church downtown, we purchase, prepare, and serve 100 to 150 meals for homeless and people who need help in our area. We partner with the Jesus Clinic, which is a bunch of medical professionals who are Christians who give low-cost medical care to people without insurance and who need help. We help with people's medical bills there. The Miracle League, which is right out of our church, started out of our church, but provides sporting opportunities for physically and mentally challenged children. Most of you have heard of Halifax Urban Ministries, large in our area here, and all of our food donations go to them. Last year, you guys gave almost a ton of food, just a church our size. And I always wonder, what about all the other churches? What if everybody did this, We take care of a lot of the hunger problem around here. We work with a group called Bridging the Gap, and it helps homeless men specifically, and not just feeding them and not just giving them a place to sleep, but it trains them in life skills and helps them find work. And in other words, get them out of the homeless situation that they find themselves in. We talked last week about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and at all of the different schools in our area. We're mainly responsible for the clubs at New Smyrna Middle and High School. And on campus, on a weekly basis, 350 to 400 students on campus hearing the gospel and all of this. And some of you got the cards last week. We had our student sponsorship cards where you can take part in supporting this and all of this. And so just to give you a quick idea of what's done just by what was turned in last Sunday, I think the most we'd ever done in 10 years was about $26,000. And this church pledged over $30,000 last week towards student ministry and youth ministry in our area. And by the way, you should clap for yourself for that. That's pretty good. And then we support a group called Coastal Choices, which is a women's resource center. We make no bones about it. We counsel against abortion here. But if people say, well, we're going to go ahead and go through that, we don't just leave them. We befriend those people. We come alongside and say, what are the needs that you have? And many times they're quick to come back later and realize what they've done and seek forgiveness that's found in Jesus Christ and receive it. Each of these local ministries receives a minimum of $150 a month from our church. So when you give, when you write a check, you're not just pouring money into a hole. Now you know where the conduit is and where some of it goes. We also give larger amounts when there's special projects that are going on. We're able to do that because of wise stewardship, one, but because you continue to give. You continue to give. So as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, don't grow weary in well-doing, okay? Things are being accomplished. The kingdom is being advanced through the work of Atlantic Coast Church and you guys. So Jeff, you come on up, if you will. This is Jeff Chasen. He has been with us before. He is I don't know your exact title, but director. Does that sound good? President and CEO, like Stephanie. Okay, with Salty Family Services. And Salty Family Services got its start in Salty Church up in Ormond Beach. And of course, they have several campuses, including one in our area. And again, you know, how we came to be, but he's been at our church several times. About every year or so, he comes and just kind of refreshes the vision for us as a church. So what I'm going to have him do, and he has a little more time. I was really pushing him in that early service, but has a little more time in this service, but kind of talk about what Salty Family Services is, what its goal is, and then maybe share the same case study that you did before. But this is an incredible ministry. And as he's doing this, I don't want you to think, and I know he would agree with me when I say this, this isn't what they are doing. This is what we are doing. Okay, so when you hear this, don't go, wow, they're awesome. Say, no, we're awesome together. So Jeff, you go ahead.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Good to see everybody this morning. And I'm going to apologize right off the bat. My voice sounds crazy because I've been dealing with some head congestion. I saw a nurse practitioner yesterday, not contagious, so if you want to talk later, you definitely can. But I'm fist bumping today, not handshaking. So, Salty Family Services, our primary goal is to try to keep kids out of foster care in Volusia County, eastern Volusia County, and Flagler County. How we do that is we invite families that have minor children in their custody to reach out to us if they're going through a struggle. So we get about 200 calls a month of families that are struggling with minor children. That can look like, I can't pay rent, I'm about to be evicted, I'm living in a hotel, my utilities are shut off or about to get shut off, I can't afford daycare so I can't go to work. All these different kinds of struggles and tension points that puts kids in vulnerable places. So what we do is we create a system that vets all those families, because out of 200 a month, that's over 2,000 a year that we're getting. We can't work with every family. And what our goal is with those families is not just to provide tangible help, but to empower those families so that they can be better and stronger and more stable families, parents for their children. So how we do that is when they're calling in, we have a series of questions that we'll go through to see if they want more than just their bill paid. So when we accept a family into our program, we provide financial assistance to one of those things I talked about, but also we tether that family to what we call a mentor. So that mentor goes into the family's homes on a weekly basis and meets with them. Now, initially you might be thinking, oh, social work. That will make my skin crawl when they're like, oh, you guys do social work. Like, there's social work aspects to what we do, but we're a ministry. We're shepherding people. I'd like to give an example of, I'm doing a workshop in a couple weeks down in South Florida, and the workshop is titled Discipleship, Not Social Work. Because if you look at Matthew 25, verse 31 through 40, the least of these, Jesus talks about, well, you gave me something to eat when I was hungry. You gave me something to drink when I was thirsty. You gave me clothes when I was naked. You could look at that just by itself and go, oh, Jesus is kind of talking about social work. He's just doing tangible things, helping people out. Well, you have to put in context of the whole ministry. Jesus was a very relational person that invited people to a lot more. And that's what we do. By going into people's homes, we're not just providing a tangible need, but we're inviting those families to a relationship. And so what we're doing, first and foremost, is getting to know that family. How did you fall into this place in life? What has been going on? So we're really focused on the ministry of being present. So just listening to somebody, because a lot of our families that are struggling in our communities, they have no social network. They have no support system. There's no one that they can just pick up the phone and just kind of vent to, because their whole network around them is going through similar things that they're going through, or even worse. So that's a really important factor of what we do, but we're trying to connect with them. And one of the things, there's three things that our mentors are focused on when we're working with families. One is practical. What can we do practically to help empower these families? So some of it is every family has to do a budget. That's mandatory. It's a one-page fill in the blank. 98% of our families that we're working with don't know how to manage money. And that's a big part of the problem. So if you're just giving tangible needs, if you're just giving money to them, they're not knowing how to steward that money well. So that money's just going out from one hand out the other. So we do budgets, and what we're doing is we're trying to foster a relationship of trust that we can offer suggestions of how they can improve their financial situation. We talk about don't leave a job until you have a job. We're trying to connect people to opportunities in the community, because our mentors are kind of like networkers as well. We have networks that Salty Family Services has grown through partnerships, and so we're trying to connect people to opportunities in the community. Emotional needs, that's another thing. We got practical, we're going to work with emotional. So we're not therapists, we're not trying to be therapists. If there's a mental health issue that's going on, we'll refer them out to one of our partners for sure. But again, it's about sharing life, about listening to that person, sitting with them in their struggle and connecting with them in that way. And then there's the spiritual component. We're always looking at how can we present the gospel to each and every family. Kind of what you were alluding to earlier, somebody cannot think about eternity when they can't figure out tomorrow. So the first thing that we need to do is not just try to invite them to come to church, not talk about how Jesus Christ will be their Lord and Savior and their lives will just be secured in eternity, which is all true, but is what we're trying to do is go, how did you get here? What's your struggle? Appreciate the thing that they're going through, and through relationship, understand, are they a red light, a yellow light, or a green light to the gospel? If they have another different belief, in which we'll enter relationships with families that have practiced Islam, that are, we had one family that showed us our first visit, their closet where they practice Santeria. So here we are in this family, but at the end of every visit, that family was open to prayer in the name of Jesus every single week, week over week over week. So there's impact there. So the big thing is, are you wanting to have a stable life for your family and your children? If so, no matter what your background is, no matter what your faith is, we will sit and walk through it with you. But as we gain relationship with them, we'll be able to share where we believe our generosity comes from, why we're even there, and that's because of Jesus Christ. And so what you'll see is relationship, dialogue, or even consideration for what we believe. And so we work with a lot of unchurched and dechurched population that has incredible opportunity, that people are just struggling, and we get to introduce them to Jesus. And that's been a huge impact for sure. And some of the impact that we've been making in the community, one, it's probably not a surprise, but here's some numbers. This first one's not probably a surprise. 81% of the families that we're working with are single moms. So it's a really struggle for a lot of mothers out there that have no support system and no male role model in that family for their kids. So that's a huge population that we're reaching. But of that 81% of those families, or 100% of the families that we work with, 85% are making substantial improvements in 4 areas that we track. That is budgeting, that is employment, that is goal setting, and community. So as a result of that, we're starting to see changes within families because we're not just working with them for a couple weeks, we're with them for 4, 5, and 6 months. So we're heavily investing in these families. And you said you wanted to kind of hear about a story, and I think this would do really well of kind of like, what does it look like with a mentor going into the home, and why am I even here, and how is this relevant to you all? So this is just one story. Now keep in mind, we worked with 350 families last year, impacted over 600 children. So it is a substantial amount of families that we're coming into, and there's a number of stories I could talk about, but this one particular was very unique, but it's a growing population that we've started to see, incrementally growing, but still growing, single dad. So we've started to see over the last few years a little bit more single dads. And this single dad had a 16-year-old in his home. He had gone through a divorce. His other son was over on the West Coast, and mom had full custody. He had full custody of his kid. So they had, he had child support that he paid $200 a month every month, and he paid it directly to the mother and through a court order. So it wasn't out of the realm of, it wasn't unique for her to reach out periodically and say, you know, there's some things going on. I want to see if we would change the visitation order. And so she would send him paperwork, he would review it, and then he'd sign it if he thought it was okay. So this particular year, at the beginning of last year, he did that. Went through the paperwork, signed it because he was okay with the change, sent it back to her. Well, what she did before submitting to the court was added an addendum. She added an extra document that he was not able to, he did not see because it wasn't sent. And that change was in child support. So the court approved and started garnishing his check monthly. It went from $200 a month to $1,100. Instantly tanked him. Now this is a guy that had the same job for over 5 years, had been in the same apartment. He had stability. He didn't have a lot of wealth by any means, but he was making a way. And so when our mentor came in, he reached out to us because now he can't pay rent. He started working, he gets out of his work at 6 o'clock. He's doing Uber Eats, driving Uber, so he's working until 11 o'clock at night and now going to food pantries just to try to keep his head above water. And he's trying to file court documents on his own to try to fix this, and he's caught up in a judicial hamster wheel. He doesn't know exactly what he's supposed to be sending, but he's frantically trying to reverse this, and he's getting denied with all his paperwork. So our mentor came in, we really started connecting with him and just of like understanding his story. And one of the first things that we did is, I'm gonna talk about this card that you're gonna be invited to, and this is why I'm here. It says, call me when. So we have volunteers that sign up that say, we believe that God's given every believer time, talent, treasure. Everybody's got something that they consider to give away when there's a need. We're not supposed to store all those things up. It's our heart to follow Jesus, to give those things away, to reflect his goodness. So we have this network of Call Me When volunteers. So the first thing we did is we reached out to our Call Me When volunteer and told him about the situation. He had food insecurity. So they provided us gift cards, $500 worth of food to Walmart. Very generous. And that person was invited to a little bit of knowledge about his situation and invited prayer. So now that family that is providing this gift card is praying for the family we're working with. We go to that home and provide that gift card. Now that gift card is an evangelistic tool. It's not just like, oh, Salty Church or Atlantic Coast Church, the corporate church provided this to you. No, someone that you will never meet has provided this type of generosity and is also praying for you. And the first thing that he said was like, why? Why would someone give that much? That's a huge question and an opportunity for our mentor to tell them why. So we continued to do a budget. Now we're doing the budget with him. And he was very confident about budgeting. And he had a month-to-month budget that he had. But one of the things that we started to realize as we were unpacking this, he had a lot of debt, crippling debt, that he was just turning a blind eye to and just didn't want to acknowledge it. So we kind of put a flag in that. We said, we're going to come back to that at some point in time. And what we were able to do as we continued to walk through life, we started to understand there might be a way to help him out with the biggest burden, which is his legal situation. So we contacted an attorney in town that we have a relationship. He's like, yeah, I can take him on. Normally my retainer is $4,000, but for you guys, I'll do $2,000. So we called a Call Me When volunteer, because we have a number of people that said the gift that I have is generosity. So we got a couple volunteers that came together, provided $2,000. Now he has an attorney where he couldn't afford one before. So now he's starting to feel supported and encouraged. He's like, okay, my head is starting to feel like I can maybe see the top of the water. I'm not out of the water yet. I can't breathe yet, but I'm still struggling. But now I'm starting to gain some confidence. And as we're continuing this, we're able to start talking about some of his debt. So we contacted another Call Me When volunteer who was a financial advisor. And so pro bono, we connected them, and that now he has a financial plan of how to incrementally start paying off that debt that he's totally invested in. Because in November, he got in front of a judge, and that whole thing got righted, and justice was given to him in November. So he went from paying $200 to $1,100 that the court said, you don't have to pay child support anymore. And mom got, fraud. A huge weight off his shoulders. And all that generosity and volunteers getting involved and us investing into him, in October, he gave his life to Christ. He got baptized.
Cool. What a coincidence.
I know, right? So happens.
Yeah. I'm just sitting there listening, saying, we didn't even know this was going on, but we're praying for Salty Family Services, and we give to Salty Family Services, and we were a part of that healing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing that you guys are a part of, because of our relationship, has been built for years now. We've been partnering together. We have 6 other partners as well. And we're growing that partnership, and we're growing exposure, not Salty Family Services, but the church. The church in our community, so much so, a couple of things that I wanted to celebrate here this weekend was last year, Community Partnership for Children, the biggest foster care agency in Volusia and Flagler County, their CEO reached out to me. And this isn't exclusively our award, if you will. There's other partners in the community as well doing good work. But she wanted to make sure that she said to me, because of what we've been doing, investing in so long, we've changed the pendulum in our community with foster care. Because I have a dashboard now that she gave me access to. It's a state dashboard. In 2021, in Flagler and Volusia, there was over 1,000 kids in foster care. Today, that is under 400. Wow. Significant changes. And think about the impact as you guys are watching the news, you guys are listening to stories that are going on, like, we hear this gray area about truth. So many issues that are going on, political stuff. There's so much chaos in our world. We have the opportunity to invest in our culture and bring Jesus to people's homes, people that are typically walking in on a Sunday. And we have the opportunity to go be the church out in the community, not just doing a one-time event, but investing in individual people's lives to bring truth to those people and those families that are struggling. And the last thing that I want to share is because of this, of what we've been able to do, the blessing that has allowed us to grow, that allows me to be able to speak in a lot of different places now, we've been able to plant our model in Castleberry, Florida. We've planted our model in Sacramento, California. By February, we'll be planted in Montana. By March 1st, we'll be planted in DeLand. And I believe in the summer, beginning of the summer, I'm going to be going up to Indiana to plant our model in Terre Haute. So it is growing, and not just here in Volusia and Flagler, but it's growing in our state and hopefully nationwide.
I'll do it. First of all, he's got one more thing we want to add and give you a chance to meet him in the back. But I just want to say, as your friend, thank you for listening to God. This is what listening to God sounds like. Probably never had any idea of what God had for you, but you just said yes. And
I was a non-believer at 38 years old. I'm 53. And so this ministry came into me and my wife's life when I was 40. So radically, he took me from A to Z. And yes, that's the only thing I can boast of. I was just saying yes.
okay, so one more thing I want him to do before I have him go to the back is, and the question you may have is, well, what can we do? I mean, yeah, our church sends money, but what can we, like I said, loving your neighbor is an active thing. It's not just feelings or prayer, it's taking action. So how can each of us as individuals take action?
This card is huge for our ministry. As we're working with families, not when people are just calling in, but when we're investing with families and our mentors are getting to know them, we start to see what else is going on besides why they reached out to us. And as we're unpacking this, we're seeing opportunity for believers to get involved, not just our single mentors that are working for Salty Family Services or volunteering for Salty Family Services, but opportunities for you all. So it's not something that we want from you, it's what we want for you. To get involved into your community, to be able to reflect Christ, even in the smallest way. So you heard some examples with the testimony that I gave. You might be able to say, well, I can't provide $500 gift card. I wouldn't expect anybody to provide a $500 gift card. But can you provide a gift card in any increment for a family that's struggling when we have food insecurity? Because we want to use that card, like I said, as an evangelistic tool to invite the person that's buying that card to pray for that family. It has a powerful effect. We believe in the power of prayer. So there's an opportunity there. Some of you might have a specific talent, like a mechanic. You can fix a car, we'll buy the parts. We live in the South, there's a lot of trucks. People have a lot of pickup trucks. Well, we have a storage unit that has furniture. So when we have a family that goes from a hotel to an apartment, we need furniture for that family. So we need people that can come and pick up that furniture and bring it to a family and have an interaction with that family. You then get to share with that family and connect with that family. Maybe you're a retired teacher or an active teacher and you can spend a little bit of time tutoring a kid after school. There's all these different types of opportunities. If you scan this QR code, we're going to give you a whole list of ideas, but then the big thing is, maybe it's not on that list, and the Holy Spirit right now is telling you, hey, you have this ability. You have this gift that I've given you. You need to give that away, or at least consider it. And that's all I'm asking today. I'm going to be out in the foyer when you guys are done. Just grab one of these cards. I'm going to hand you one of these cards, and all I'm going to ask you to do is just pray over it. Just see if there's an opportunity for you to partner with us in this way with us, because it's been a blessing to my family, but it's been a blessing to so many other people, not only the families that we serve, but everybody that's touching this ministry. And I just thank you guys.
Yeah, so do this. I know at the end of the service, some of you go this way. Let's all go out this way this time, okay? And do nothing but take this. That's it. Take it, go home, hit the QR code, pray that God will use you. And I think there's going to be some incredible stories out of this. Just this meeting today, what God's going to do not only in the lives of people that we're helping, but people who are doing the helping. God's going to do that. So in just a minute, when I dismiss in prayer, Jeff's going to go to the back and make sure you swing by and meet him.